and then there's Bill Taylor, who fought in World War II in the Navy. Where were you? What theater did you serve in?
Well, I taught air navigation in Hollywood, Florida for about a year, and then I decided teaching wasn't for the best thing to be doing, so I got into VR-11, which was a transport squadron based in Honolulu, and from there we flew to where with R-5Ds, which the Army called C-54s, and Douglas called them DC-4s. They were four-engine transports, and we flew from Honolulu to Oakland and back with cargo, and then we'd go from Honolulu west to wherever the most recent fighting by the Marines had occurred. And then we'd just circle around wherever they told us to go out there in the Pacific. And in the course of the time I was there, which was about 2 years, I logged a little over 2,000 hours, which is roughly 400,000 miles, and went to all of the Marine Corps battlefields, except by the time we got to Iwo Jima and Okinawa, I'd been there long enough that I didn't have to go anymore on the Western trips. But basically, that's what we did.
So you're in Hollywood, Florida, which is not a bad place to be, let's face it. Good job to have, teaching, perfectly safe. And you thought to yourself, I need to do more. So I'm going to go fly transport planes, knowing full well, by the way, that those are prime targets for enemy aircraft. They would love to shoot down a cargo plane. And you went and did that in World War II.
Well, I got to wondering what my grandchildren would say someday when they asked me what I did in the war, and I said I taught navigation the whole time.
That's still an important thing to do, and
well,
it's still
know,
a vital service to your country.
It's not spectacular like going out and getting close to the fighting.
Right, but did anybody ever say, well, how about if you get killed, you'll never have grandchildren to ask that question? I don't know, but I mean, but that's the stuff that these World War II vets are made of, right there. These are the kind of people that deserve this trip to D.C. Seriously, that's just amazing, right there. Because I think I might. I don't have a very high opinion of myself. I think I might just keep the teaching gig. That sounds like a pretty good deal. I've been to Hollywood, Florida. It's not an awful place. Well, in flying transport planes, did you ever, surely you had stuff break on your airplanes, you got shot at, all of that, that must have been an eventful couple of years.
Probably the worst thing that happened to the crew I was in, we were coming from Honolulu to Oakland one time and climbed for about an hour, and just before leveling off, we'd send the orderly back to check the cargo and see if everything was in place. And he came back up to the front and said there's about 50 gallons of gasoline sloshing around all over the floor back there. And so we secured the smoking and the radios and everything that would make a spark and made a quick turnaround and went back. But whoever was supposed to have secured the gas cap inside the cabin was a 500-gallon tank of gas and as we climbed, the filler cap was on the back end.
Oh, of course. So gravity just pushed it right, just sloshed it right out of there.
That's right. That was the closest I think I ever came to finishing it. The other time we landed in Guadalcanal one time I guess we were flying from Tarawa. Anyway, we started to let down, and one of the engines popped a cylinder head, a little hole about as big as $1, and then about just seconds later, one on the other side did the same. And all we could figure was that the second pilot who was beginning to let down had readjusted the power setting and the propeller speed incorrectly, and that'll increase the manifold pressure to the point where it'll blow a cylinder head. But fortunately, we were letting down, and we got down and landed at Henderson Field on Guadalcanal. If we had to make a missed approach and climb out, I don't know whether we could have climbed on two engines. Fortunately,
wow.
They were on opposite sides of the plane, so we were able to stay stable and get down.
Wow.
But I don't really remember clearly any other times. We flew over Japanese-held territory where they were hungry and said to be cannibals when it came to American people. But we stayed as far away from Wochi and some of those that were they were hungry down there.
Wow.
But we didn't know. We didn't have any real put your finger on incidents that we could remember of that kind.
Still, you got to fly over and into some really scary places, like Oakland, for instance, which is even scarier now.
Yeah, we were climbing out of Oakland one time at over the Bay Bridge, and something happened to the engines, and we made a quick U-turn and landed at a place on the San Francisco side called Mills Field, and that's what's now San Francisco International. Back then, it was just a smaller.
Wow,
place.
just an airstrip out there. Yeah, it's kind of a big deal now. Yeah, you hear those stories all the time about like maintenance issues and stuff, and there were really good mechanics who kept those aircraft all patched up. Oh yeah. But the crews had to get in those who knows how well patched up and fly over huge, vast swaths of water, where if something falls off the airplane, you and your stuff are going to be in the bottom of the ocean. And you thought to yourself, I'll do that. This teaching is not exciting enough for me.
And in the small world category, Bill mentioned Tarawa and WWII. My late dad, Harris Taylor, was a B-25 pilot and flew out of Tarawa after the Marines took it, and also was shot down right out from the island of WWII in 1944.
See, that is just absolutely amazing right there, that there are people wired up to do that. And, and Dick is right. You never hear these guys say, we literally saved the world. It's always, they needed us to do it, so we went and did it.